Hello, 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 and welcome to an exciting edition of the Disventure Camp tier list series. This is something that I am recording in September 2025. That's right, it has been a full year since the release of Disventure Camp All-Stars. I kind of wanted to do this a lot sooner, but, there was just a lot of discourse and a lot of negativity going around the community at the time, and I didn't feel like it was worth it to do it, but now that it has been a full year, I figured might as well do it now. I don't really know how many views this video is going to get. I don't know if we'll get that many. It's not relevant anymore, especially compared to last year. Last year was such a big year for the show. Recently, the views have been not super high, but I'm excited to do this. I just want to preface by saying that firstly, as the title suggests, I did previously work in OddNationCartoons as a proofreader for season 1 and 3, so I will be biased. I will try to be as fair as humanly possible. I've spent the last 2 years, because the scripts came out September 2023. I think that's when Dan was getting voted out in DC1. We were getting the scripts for the early All-Stars episode, so it has been 2 years for me when we started writing. And things have been very interesting the last 2 years. We've all grown and matured a little older, and because of that, this will be a relatively positive tier list. I hope that everyone in the comments, if there are people in the comments, stay respectful. We all have different opinions, and that's okay. Let's not try to spread negativity. There's enough negativity going around in this community. But yeah, I will be biased, and this will sway more positively. I have a more positive outlook towards the season. I honestly think that All-Stars has just a really bad rep from more vocal people. I mean, it does have the most views, and yeah, it's a combination of 2 generations, so even if it was bad, it was going to get a lot of views. But I look at a lot of YouTube comments, and there's way more positivity than you'd expect. If you go on other social media sites, you see a lot of negativity and all that. Which is fine, of course, opinions are opinions, but, I don't think the season is anywhere near as unpopular as people make it out to be. I'm not going to say, oh, this is the most beloved season, because it obviously isn't. Honestly, what even is the most beloved season? I guess DC1, but so yeah, I hope you guys are ready, and we shall begin momentarily. So the very first character we're going to rank today, we're going in the boot order, is James. Now, James is the first boot of the season, despite being last season's winner. And I always thought that was such a big, fun plot point to have the winner of Season 2 be the first person out in Season 3. But we're not here to discuss that. That's for the other tier list. That's the episode tier list that I recorded about a year ago. James, for what it's worth, he does have a pretty meaty role in the season. He's Jake's first victim, the first person that really goes home because of Jake. And actually, surprisingly, he keeps that grudge until the very end of the season. In episode 19, when you think this is a plot point that has been forgotten, he is mad. he still sees Jake as the spoiled brat, whereas a lot of the other people are more willing to forgive Jake for his sins. James is someone that is annoyed. And luckily, over the course of episode 20, he ends up seeing the light, I guess, and forgives Jake. And I always thought that was kind of cute. I did like their very short rivalry in episode 2. I thought that was weirdly, considering the beta season 2, James doesn't have a lot of screen time. So getting to see him get mad and try to fight Jake is, that's pretty cool. On top of that, you have a few scenes in episode 11 and 19 where James really tries to empathize with Yule. He's the only one who does, and you might look at it and be like, why do you empathize with Yule? Yule's obviously a horrible person. You have to remember that James was kind of in Yule's seat during Season 2. I'm not saying James is a horrible person, but obviously there were moments where it was he could have gone down that dark path. I think James, Yule, and Rhea are really interesting because they're all so integrated into the social media and all that. And they easily could be seen as foils towards one another. Anyway, he doesn't actually get a whole lot of content with Aiden, but when he does, it's just very wholesome and sweet. They were a big storyline, the main storyline, arguably, in the Disventure Camp Season 2, so I'm happy that, there was really no drama regarding those two. They're just kind of happy to be together. And, for what it's worth, again, not a big part of the season, but I will say that whenever he's there, he kind of steals the show. I don't know, his voice actor is great. Sadly, Badalt has been recast for the new Season 2, but I hope the new VA really steps into the shoes and proves that it's a new iteration of James, but still, hopefully, it's great. And I love James in the season. I actually like he gets a much fewer episodes this season, but I love him better than the beta Season 2. I am going to give him A tier. And by the way, I numbered it, so an S is a 10 and a E is a 5. I don't really think that, like, because usually when you think of like E or F tier, it's like what, like a 2 or 1. Okay, hot take. I don't think any character here is lower than a 5, in terms of writing and execution, all that stuff. So that's why it's there, because when I say E, I mean like a 5. I don't mean like a 2. Anyway, next up we have Lake, and I think Lake is probably going to be one of the lower rated characters. I think it was a big shock for the fandom that she was really fated to be a second boot without much of a storyline. And I think the reason for that is because, firstly, the season 2, the original season 2, she has more or less a very full story with her parents and with Crystal, and if you think about it, there's really no room for her. Who would she interact with? Rosa is her main, like, the main person that she was interacting with, not really on the season. Aiden, kind of a friend, but I don't know, I feel a little boring. Feels a little boring, especially without James in the mix. Obviously, James was first boot. There was murmurings that he was the first boot because his voice actor at the time was a relatively popular celebrity, so he couldn't really record too many lines. So with that, Lake just has not a lot of places to go, and I'm actually worried about DC5 in terms of what they're going to do with Lake, just because, I don't know, I feel like this is a character who kind of had a finished arc, and you can just have a second arc, that's totally cool, but I don't think All-Stars really planned on doing that. I do like that she fought with her morals to protect Aiden against Ellie, and I thought that was really great. In the original season 2, she doesn't really fight back with the antagonist, that being Rhea, who ends up eliminating her. In fact, they don't really have any dynamic to speak of, despite, a lot of people thinking, oh, Lake's gonna get her revenge on Rhea, or anything like that. That just wasn't in the cards, because that just wasn't really an interaction to begin with. Yeah, Lake is probably gonna be... I think she's fine. I'm gonna put her in E tier 5, the lowest character, almost certainly, just because there really was no room for her in the season. She's such a big component in season 2, you can't not have her, but at the same time, what are you gonna do with her? Like, come on. She has such a fulfilled character arc that it only made sense that she was gonna be an early boot. And let me tell you that a lot of us proofreaders were kind of campaigning for her to be an early boot. We were like, she has no place in this season. I'm sorry to any Lake fans out there. I do know that she is popular with the crowd of people that kind of like the nicer characters, and that's okay, but I don't really know. I do like what she was able to contribute, especially just being kind and giving supporting words to Aiden about Jake in episode 11. But that's really all there is to it. So yeah, Miriam is another character who doesn't last that long, but weirdly enough, a lot of people really like her role in the season, and I do too. I think that it's interesting how, if you look at 2023, the end of DC1, a lot of fans weren't really convinced about Miriam's win. They thought it was undeserved. They thought it came out of nowhere. That her storyline really, peaked in episode 5 with the conversation with Jake. But that being said, I do think that Miriam here was really good in her few episodes. She exposes the Villains Alliance. She, she just, I don't know. It's so interesting to me how this 4-episode run she had really solidified her win in the previous season, where people were like, oh, no, she deserved that win. Holy crap. She called out Alec all the time. She even had a line where she, it's kind of funny because they're two winners now, but she calls out Rhea for the way she treated Connor. Even in episode 19, Miriam has some really cute scenes with Connor where she's giving him advice. There's the scene in episode 11 where she calls Tom out for his treatment of Jake. I don't know, I feel like this is a really well done support character. Now, I don't really like that term. I feel like a lot of people use support character in a negative connotation because there's 18 characters. Look, there's only a limited amount of time. They can't all be mains. And I understand that fundamentally you want even your minor characters to have meaty roles. You want them to have depth beyond being someone's therapist. And we'll get into that a little later. But for the most part, I think Miriam does a really good job in her limited amount of time. I'm actually going to give her... did I put her above James? I will actually put her above James. I do think that some of James's interactions were a little, you could have had a little more. Episode 20 is the big one, where it's he has interactions with Jake. I'm like, they could have done a bit better. Honestly, just give it a bit more conversations, but for what it's worth, it's solid. It's solid enough. Miriam is I think that in her limited amount of screen time, she filled that niche of a competent previous winner who served as a catalyst to take down the Villains Alliance, and you know, a lot of people didn't really have much hope for her. They thought she would like die or something, but nope, that didn't happen. She proved herself. Next up, we have Hunter, and I think Hunter came into the season in a very interesting predicament because of how he was portrayed in Season 2. I'm not really going to get into that, but it was controversial, to say the least. So, because he was written in such a weird way, you had a lot of different routes to go, and I think the way that was decided was, at first, he is, you know, beefing a lot with Ellie and having this petty arguments with Fiori because, you know, the game is getting to him. He served Season 2 by winning a lot of challenges, so in his mind, challenge wins are the way to go. But as the season unravels, you realize that he was always a well-meaning person, and if anything, Allie's development later on, you know, we're gonna get into Ellie later, stuff like the bear and how she treated Jake and the flip and all that stuff. A lot of those insecurities Hunter sees firsthand, so I'm not saying it was good of him to like yell at Ellie and argue with her a lot, but at the same time, it's like, if anyone is gonna know what she goes through, it's gonna be him, and that's really shown later on in the season. Episode 11 and episode 19 are really good Hunter episodes where you see that he really does care about Ellie and Tess, actually. He's a supportive, silly little boyfriend who's kind of a himbo at times. He makes a lot of goofy comments. Easy money is like one of the best quotes ever. And I don't know, like, he just has a lot of sweet scenes. Considering how divisive he was in DC2, he easily is the most improved character, I would say. I wish we got a little more out of him, to be honest. But like the bite-sized chunks we get, I'm really happy with. The fighting with Fiori, it's like a lot of people are like, oh, this is so petty and stuff, but I distinctly remember that once both of them are gone, a lot of people are like, I kind of miss that. That was funny. little comedy on the side. I don't know. I really liked Hunter's role in the season. I would give him... I know in the Disventure Dispatch, I said he was probably the best character of the season. I don't know if I agree with that anymore, but I gotta say, man, I'm gonna have to put him here in A tier, just under these two, because those two have... James and Miriam have more meaty roles. I do love Hunter this season, though. It's so good. It's such an improvement, and it's so nice to see that he cares about both Ellie and Tess. And it's just, oh man, some of those scenes in the first 5 episodes are so strong because of him. Like, once he leaves, it's like, oh man, he was great. He was great. He's definitely a highlight in the first 5 episodes. Next up, we have Fiori, and Fiori has always been a weird character to me because this show is so hell-bent on being more realistic and authentic with real-world issues, and yet you have a very cartoony concept in an evil child, right? I know Miriam is also kind of like that, but in these game shows, you do occasionally see older grandmas, right? Fiori is like, okay, that's something that's more out of a cartoon, and because of that, it creates this weird cognitive dissonance. That being said, it is really fun to see the previous big bad, the really like unbeatable. I guess she wasn't unbeatable, but you know what I mean. She never got voted out. She made it to second place. Kind of be in this position where she's an underdog and constantly she's doomed. You'd think that on her team she would be kicked out pretty easily, but she survives significantly longer than a lot of people gave her credit for. Granted, it's really only 2 eliminations, the eliminations of James and Hunter, and it's mainly because of Ashley's strategic prowess, but it is just cool to see this character really survive, this overpowered character in the previous season survive by the skin of her teeth several times, and I kind of like that. And Fiori is just kind of a funny character. She has so many lines that are just like, she's just being kind of mean, and she doesn't care anymore. She doesn't care that people know that she's just kind of a evil child now. Like, she does not hold back. And she does have some surprisingly heartwarming moments with Ellie, of all people, and I think that's kind of funny. I don't know. The Alec stuff, I do think it could have been a little better, because Alec and Fiori just kind of like, in episode 11, they just kind of forgive each other and get together without like really needing to do anything. They just kind of got paired up and they were like, oh, we're buds again. But then again, maybe the betrayal was like, they didn't take it personal. It was, maybe Alec was being a little petty, but I don't know. Fiori is like an interesting. I can't in good conscience put her in A. I know she's really funny, but like, oh man, I think her role in the season was just. I'm not gonna say it's just comic relief. Out of all the characters, I think that she's another. Like, she's kind of like a Lake example, where she's really here because she's like such a big character, and the story needed to get rid of her in order to hit the more darker tones. Because again, this is like an evil child. Would it work still? I mean, like. It'd probably still work, but I don't know. I feel like the themes wouldn't hit the same if you have like a very cartoony sort of character still in the game. It worked in DC1. but I don't know if it worked here. And maybe that's why DC1 is so beloved, because it's the most, like, cartoony sort of season. Again, I don't want there to be a total drama, Disventure Camp War, but I do think that, I'm not saying that, like, one is better than the other, but total drama is definitely the more goofy of the seasons, and I would say that DC1 is probably the one that resembles the, like, more of a total drama season. It's not super silly, but it is sillier. Anyway, that's enough rambling. I will put Fiori in B tier. I think she is a great character. And she does fill that niche where she doesn't have much of an arc other than the Alec stuff, but she still has a fun presence all around. Ellie is someone who is super important throughout the whole season. It does make sense considering DC1 was really her season. She's not the winner, of course, but I would say she's one of the most focused characters of that season. So seeing her get a pre-merge placement is pretty interesting. She has more of a villainous role. I wouldn't call her an antagonist. I know she's in the villains lines, but she's the one that I'm like, nah, she's not really an antagonist. She's kind of an anti-hero, I guess. So seeing her a lot more, cutthroat is very interesting. I can't blame her because the team dynamic is that she's on a team with her girlfriend and her close friend in Tess and also Lake. So if you think about it, she's in a position where she's probably never unless someone flips, which is exactly what happened, she's not really going home. She feels confident. She feels cocky. She feels like she can mess with these people, just like how Miriam messed with her. I know some people at the time, the more contemporary perspectives, did not like Ellie's portrayal. But, we did put several scenes in episode 11, 19, and 21 where it's like Ellie is offered money, the chance to get money, and every single time she rejects it to be with Gabby. And I think that's great. I don't know. I think that Ellie is a very interesting character because she kind of serves, Rhea kind of serves as a cautionary tale for what Ellie could have become. She could have easily lost Gabby had the game gotten into her head. And I do think that is an interesting parallel. It's really highlighted in the very last episode of the season where Rhea and Ellie kind of get into an argument. But I do think that it's funny how the pre-merge kind of parallels the endgame. I don't know where to put Ellie. Man, can I put her in, I can't. Do I put her in S? I don't know. I feel like out of all the pre-merge characters, she's definitely the one that stays the most relevant all throughout the season, despite only lasting 8 episodes at first. Man, I'm gonna put her in S tier. I really like Ellie this season. I think that it's such an interesting way to portray her after her first season, where you might think that she's this underdog, scrappy sort of person, but she ends up being kind of, I'm not gonna say evil, but kind of like really mean. But obviously it evens out in the end, and I think that's pretty cool. I like Ellie. Ellie's great. Next up we have Tess, and I want to point out that Tess is probably the character that I help write for the most. I'm not going to elaborate on that. I've elaborated on that enough in the Disventure Dispatch. Go watch that. But I think that Tess is interesting because in her first season, she was kind of like a more laid-back character that didn't get a lot of screen time. She had that storyline about her depression, and she was someone who was very anti-strategy. And I think using that characteristic and making her extremely, like, anti-strategy, but eventually forced into a position where she does have to make a choice. She can't just sit on the fence anymore. She has to make a choice. I thought was super interesting. I really wanted that for her. So obviously her flipping on Ellie was just such a, I don't know, it's such a powerful moment where she has to choose between her friend and her morals. And obviously she gets karma'd for it because Gabby gets her out in the very next episode, right? Because it's like, Tess is kind of getting too big for her britches, and I'm not going to say if it's a right or wrong choice. I do think that it's fun how it is such a dilemma that even to this day people still talk about it. But I think Tess's role as this, people call it a therapist. I don't really see it like that. I just see it as Tess is just a good friend who's there for people. I really like that. It is fun to see how a character who needed this level of help eventually became the character that can help others, and I just think that's really sweet. I think that's really wholesome. I think it's a good message for people who are in that position, who are depressed. I don't want to talk too seriously about it, but it's just nice. With that being said, I would probably put her in B tier. I'm gonna put her above Fiori because I do think that there is more meat in the Tess story than people are willing to give credit for. I love it when she helps out Gabby. She helps out Aiden. It's just she helps out Hunter. It's just, I don't know. It's just so nice. Especially when you consider what happens later on where a lot of people are finicky and always fighting. It is just nice to have a character who's just there for people. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm speaking from experience, but as someone who has gone through what Tess has gone through, it's just very sweet. Next up, we have Ashley, and Ashley is another character that people would call supporting. I think she's probably the one that creates the most writer to viewer dissonance, because I really thought that she was going to be this breakout star of the season and everyone would love her. I was actually kind of surprised to see that there was so much vitriol because, for the most part, she doesn't have her own characteristics. She's kind of just perfect and serves as Jake's best friend. Again, people call it a therapist. I just consider it a best friend. Someone who's there to listen. You know, she does have some flaws. She does like yell at Allie and Jake sometimes when they're getting on her nerves. But I really do love how it represents this dilemma of like both Allie and Jake really are fighting for her attention, and it's like, God, that's so interesting, especially on like a team of 3. It's like, what can you do if you're like, if you're like, and they are like a team of 3 for like I think 2 episodes. It's like, man, they really have to vie for her attention, and it's just, I don't know. And Ashley is just, she's obviously Genesis' favorite character, but I don't know. It's just nice to have another supportive figure that when her and Tess both get eliminated back to back, it really shows how dark the season is going to get. It's really the nail in the coffin for how dark the season gets, and a lot of people really love her elimination. I do think she has a very sweet elimination, where even though Jake screwed her out of money, it's like, she still forgives him, says, Jake, you've suffered enough. You have to keep on fighting, Jake. You can't let your past define you, and it's so strong. I love Ashley. I think all of you Jakes out there, you need an Ashley in your life. You need to find that one person who's willing to be kind of. Oh man, why am I tearing up over tears? Oh man, but the criticism is right. I do think it's fair. I do think Ashley could have gotten a little more, especially because she got that whole story with the barn fire. That could have gone somewhere else. Maybe talk about Will even. Maybe she misses him. I don't know. I do wish she was more. And okay, I do think she's more than Jake's friend, but I wish she was even more than that, right? Oh man, I'm gonna put her above Tess. Just, oh man, do I put her above or under Tess? I mean, like, oh man, that's hard. It's actually kind of hard to decide if I put her above or below Tess. I'm gonna put her below Tess. I think Tess has more synergy with Hunter and Allie, and I kind of like that more than Ashley with Jake, even though it's really sweet. Ashley is really the breakout friendship of the season, and it's not even a cross-gen friendship. It's like they're both Gen 1 characters. It's just crazy. God, I love this season. Anyway, sorry. A lot of people are not gonna be happy that I said that. Tom is interesting because if you asked me last year, I would have said Tom is one of the weaker characters. I still kind of agree with that, but now that I've aged a little more, and like I'm not saying I aged like a million years. I only aged like 2 years. I kind of look back and I see the flaws, and it's really human. Obviously he makes a lot of excuses to not talk to Jake, and it just hurts Jake because Jake just wants to have a conversation, but Tom isn't giving him the time of day. He makes up lies about the fake boyfriend. It's just he ghosted Jake for 2 years when Jake was hurting. It's a really crappy thing that he did, but it's like that makes him human. I can't deny that this stuff happens, and yeah, it sucks. You don't want to see someone do that, and it's uncalled for, but at the same time, that's what just makes him human. And I don't know, it's really harsh, but I don't know. A lot of people have mixed opinions, for example, on Tom Den, and I think Tom Den is pretty cute for what it is, right? It's 2 gay men who are just close friends. They have a big brother little brother relationship that's not necessarily romantic. I do know that they kiss, but it's platonic, other than in Jake's head. Jake thinks it's more than it actually is. And it's just, God, I don't know. It's messy, but I like that. I really do like that. Of course, we have the finale where Tom says his love for Jake, and Jake doesn't win, but in the end, they get that happily ever after, and I think that's really cute and stuff. I don't know. I feel like as I've gotten older, I don't relate with Tom more, but I'm just like, wow, he's just human, and I love that. Of course, there's also the thing with Gabby where, they have a tiebreaker, and this wasn't as defined as I wish it was. I know that there was a pitch where, during the tiebreaker, they're both in the cages, right? Gabby, there were plans where Tom has a panic attack because he's in jail again, right? He's a spy. He was a spy who's now in jail, or he got jailed, and it triggers traumatic memories. And Gabby, who's used to being in solitary confinement due to her alters, is like, you could have had this powerful moment where they both just are losing it, and like a lot of these characters just feel for them. I don't know. I wish that was kept because I think that is very interesting narrative through line that sadly didn't make it in the final cut. But for what it's worth, I don't know. I look at Tom with a bit of age and I'm like, he's not bad. I do think that some of the himboisms were a little farther than I would have liked, especially within the context of Logan and DC4. I'm like, okay, this is a bit much. But I don't know. I'm gonna put him in C, but like that's still a 7 out of 10. I think that's more generous than when we did the podcast last year. Now, like again, only 1 year has passed, but I don't know. I feel like I've come to understand him a bit better now. You'll, I'm not even gonna I'm not even gonna discuss. We're just gonna okay. I will put him above Lake just because he is. Hear me out. He is used as a tool for other people's growth, namely Grett and a bit of Gabby, where Grett needs to overcome this obstacle, and Yule serves as that. Now, I do think that Yule went, the writing for Yule went a bit far at times. That's like it can genuinely be triggering, and a lot of things were uncalled for. I do think, having Yule be this horrible person to Grett is necessary for the storyline, but at the same time, I do think that some of the writing a little more harsh and uncomfortable than it could have been. I also like what he represents for Rhea, where Yule can be seen as this control group as to what Rhea's fate could have easily been had she continued this tirade of just being this evil person. And I feel like it gets, thematically shown a few times with, Yule and Rhea being paired up, for example, in episode 20. But I don't know. He's just meant to be unlikable. He's unlikable. It's hard to write a character like that because I know a lot of people don't like that he's funny. It's like, hey, if you're making him unlikable, don't make him funny. But also, I think that's more so the voice actor than the writing. The voice actor is just a funny guy. I love him. Marks is great. But also, it's just like, I think that's how to make him a little more palatable. What he's saying is horrible. Okay, don't get me wrong. What he's saying is horrible. But if it was just like horrible stuff, then that's hard to take in. If it's funny, then it's like, okay, you know what? Eventually he'll get his karma. And like throughout the season, he just gets injured so often. Like the ending, his elimination it's literally a supervillain episode. He is just this evil, horrible puppet master who's electrocuting Gabby, and Grett comes to save her, and it's just so powerful to me. And then episode 19, James does try to reach out, and Yule has a small moment of clarity, but no, it's the story of the frog and the scorpion. That's just Yule's nature. He will always be a shitty person, and his fate, of course, is that he has a shitty podcast that no one listens to. It's like, God, yeah, I have to put him above Lake because he does actually serve a bit of a purpose. I do think he could have been a little better. Maybe less offensive about weight, maybe other things offensive, maybe he brings up, other triggering things that may not necessarily be uncomfortable for the viewers, but yeah, I'll put him there. It's hard to talk about Yule. It's very hard to talk about Yule, I will say. Gabby is a character that is also kind of hard to talk about because if you really watch the season, she's not relevant for the first 7 episodes. Of course, she has her doubts about Ellie's actions, but for the most part, she's really in the background. And a large reason of this is because during the early DC1 days, a lot of people really didn't like Gabby, so I guess the writing reflected that, where it's like, okay, let's just, she can take a backseat for now. She'll take a backseat. I really thought that Gabby would be this massive popular character, and she is now. But back in 2023, she was not. She was very divisive. I'm glad that is smoothed over because I really do think she's a great character. I do think that some of her lines can be a little too quirky at times that I don't like, in ways that I don't like. It's like, it's a little also random. But for the most part, Gabby's a great character. Of course, when Ellie goes home, she wants revenge on Tess, Aiden, and Tom. So she does join the Villains Alliance, and it really is this interesting dynamic where it's like, oh no, Ellie doesn't tell Gabby about the Villains Alliance, but now it's like, no, Gabby forgives her. That's totally fine. Now Gabby's part of the Villains Alliance, and it's fun. It's a fun, little storyline. It doesn't go too far. She gets rid of Tess and kind of Tom, but by that point, the story for her shifts to be more so about Grett and her forgiveness of Grett. And if you look in DC1, Grett really treats her really badly, but of course, Gabby being Gabby, she forgives her, and they end up having this very wholesome friendship. And I love that. And now she has 2 friends. Well, 1 friend and 1 girlfriend. It's great. They make a great trio. I don't know. It's a really great dynamic. I don't know. I can't in good conscience put her in A. I know that a lot of people really expected her to be the winner. And to me, it's like, that's, I don't know. To me, that just seemed weird because like in episode, okay, you know, I've been dancing around it. Yeah, episode 14 is one of the most controversial episodes because A, it's the TikTok dances, and B, Gabby's elimination. But I feel like throughout episodes 11, 12, 13, 14, like her storylines end one by one. It's like that's not the path of a winner. I don't know what to tell you. That's just not the path of a winner. Episode 11, the money story with Ellie gets resolved. She's like, "Hey, Gabby, I don't want to come to the game. I don't want you to overwork yourself. I just want you to be happy." Episode 12, she forgives Tom, beats him in the tiebreaker. Episode 13, she saves Grett. In episode 14, she comes to terms with her alters. So, I don't know. I think that she has a lot of content in only 7-ish episodes. In like those middle 7 episodes, she's really the big standout character. And I don't know. I have to put her in B. I'll put her in high B. Actually, no. I'll put her in low A. I think low A is fair for her. Oh man. Trying to think. Oh man. I don't know. I'm like, now that I think about it, I think we'll put her here. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I'll put her there. Low A. I don't really have a reason for it. Other than just, there's just a lot of stuff that she does that I think is really cool. Anyways, we have Aiden. Aiden is probably gonna go like here. I think that's fair. D tier, 6 out of 10, which like, you know, is not like, you know, it's not like 3 out of 10, but it's like 6 out of 10. I think Aiden is kind of the blank slate character where he really works better as a foil for the others, whether it be Ellie or Jake or Yule or Rhea. Aiden is just kind of there to fight with people. It's not even specifically about him at times. And that's why throughout episodes 13, 14, 15, I guess 12 as well, the story goes out of its way to give him stuff to do, whether it's he uses the bathroom to see Alec and Rhea kiss, and now him and Jake kind of spy on them and all that, and then he gets flipped on by Ellie. I think Aiden is someone that could have had his own little journey, especially because the season starts out so strong with that, where he loses James and Lake right away. And obviously it's a game show, he's going to see them again, they're not dead, but that must suck to lose 2 of your closest allies right off the bat. You know, he's never really had to do that in DC2, so maybe he could have had a little arc where he comes with his independence, but I don't know. He lasts far too long in the game for that to, you know, be something that lasts that long. I don't know. I just liked him as the eternal underdog, and just as things are starting to look better for him, he gets flipped on by Ellie. And honestly, he's just collateral damage. And if you think about it, that's really just Aiden's part of the whole season. He's just kind of collateral damage to the Tom Jake stuff, to the Ellie Jake stuff, to the Rhea Connor stuff, to Allie's, you know, anger towards Jake. He really is the ultimate collateral damage, and I think that's kind of funny. Yeah, I don't know what there else is to say about him, but I do like his moments with Tom. I know a lot of people are like, it's kind of meh, but I don't know. I like it. I think it's cute. But yeah, no, he definitely could have gotten a bit more that fits his personality. But I do kind of like that he's treated like this ragdoll that just gets beaten up by everyone. Not beaten up, but like, you know, gets mistreated by everyone. And despite that, he stays positive and sassy the whole time, and I love that. Anyway, we have Alec. Alec is really interesting to me structurally because he starts out the season as this mastermind who's starting the Villains Alliance, but also he cares about the members. He will go out of his way to throw the challenge for Ellie and Fiori. He wants to make sure they're all okay and stuff like that. And for the most part, he does a lot of like, okay, I don't know, I guess he does a lot of them, but he's there. He is the guy behind some of the pretty solid eliminations, you know, Tess and Ashley and Tom. And then he really loses the bag once, you know, he's really trying to get everything in order, but obviously his bond with Connor comes back to bite him when Connor comes back in the game. He gets put in the middle of the Connor and Rhea drama. Yule sort of screws everything over for him. Like, nothing really goes his way, especially after Ellie and Fiori go. It's really, he's playing for the bottom, and he does make it work out, but he just kind of like loses the ball, I guess. And I don't know, I think it's structurally interesting to have a character who starts off so maniacal and so powerful, and yet by the end of the season, or not by the end of the season, but by the end of his run, he's just kind of this plaything for Rhea. He gets dragged along, and now he just, like, him kissing Rhea really changes his perception of what it means to be like a person, like his whole life with his wife and his son. And I don't know, it's just, again, you know, Alec, Rhea, they're all 30-year-olds. I'm not close to being 30, but now that I've aged a little bit, I'm like, I kind of see it a bit better, you know. Sometimes love makes you do dumb things. Sometimes love makes you, like, blinds you and stuff. And I don't know, it's just, he can't get Rhea out of his head, and because of that, he starts acting kind of pathetic. And yeah, his elimination, no one cares. Like, this big villain just gets taken out pretty nonchalantly. Connor, of course, gives him a hug, but, you know. But then in the finale, not only has he made amends with Fiori, he also says, no, Rhea, I'm not going to be a victim of your suffering. Go away. And it's just, it's great. I don't know. Alec is like, I can't in good oh man, not a lot of S tiers, but like, I can't in good conscience give Alec S tier, but I'm going to give him like high A tier. I would give him like, I'll give him that. I'll give him like under Miriam, I think. It's just interesting to me that, like, again, he was such a power player, and yet even when he's relevant, he's still like, he feels like kind of in the shadows still. I feel like you could probably watch DC All-Stars, and for like the first half, you'd be like, oh yeah, Alec's in this. Oh yeah, he's the main guy that's playing the strings. Like, it's not something that like immediately pops to your head, but that's who he is, and it's great. Next up we have Grett, and this is probably gonna be a hot take of mine. I know a lot of people really like Grett, and to that I say, if Grett won the season, that'd be kind of boring. That's all I'm gonna say for that. I know that a lot of the fans are younger, and I don't want to use this age card again, but I feel like when you look at Season 1, a lot of people think, like, Season 1, Grett is super strong, and DC All-Stars ruins her character, makes her, like, pathetic and shallow, but if you rewatch Episode 9, that's the point. Rhea literally calls her out. What happened to you? You used to be so cool in Season 1. Why are you like this now? What happened? Why are you being used by this disgusting Yule? And, you know, I look back at Season 1 Grett, and I think she is cool if you are a... Okay, let me rephrase this. Her standout moments are cooler if you are a younger person. If you are a teenager, it's like, yeah, she doesn't care. She's, you know, she's mean to Gabby. She doesn't care about her mom. She flips off Alec and Fiori. And it's like, okay, like, she's... I like that it seems like a deconstruction of the usual mean girl character, especially someone, you know, for me, I've been in this genre for a really long time. You know, Heather is the first thing that comes to mind. I like how in her second season, those layers get peeled back, because now she has to directly confront an abuser in Yule, right? In a previous season, she didn't do that with her mom. It's all off screen. It's all like, you know, you can say screw you to people who aren't there. And like, yeah, sure, that doesn't mean it's not powerful. But for the most part, she has to directly confront Yule. That's not something she's used to. She's more used to just accepting the abuse. And it's horrible. But luckily, Gabby is able to say, no, what are you doing, Grett? You have to be strong. You have to break up with him and tell him to F off. And it's great. And like, you know, on top of that, the scene with the branch, where she does the pull up, you know, she wins immunity. She gets, you know, she does that scene with Alec. And Alec wasn't helping her. Alec was there the whole time, and he was being greedy. He did not defend Grett at all. And I guess Rhea didn't either. No, okay, Rhea did a little bit. It's like, she gets, it's not like revenge, but it's like, hey, you didn't defend me with the Yule. You saw how bad he was treating me. She does that. And of course, she gets eliminated. You know, Allie flips on her, but she gets eliminated with grace. And it's just, I don't know. It's a moment where you just look at her and she's come a long way. And I do think that people will clown on the All-Stars thing, saying like, that's not Grett. The true Grett is Season 1. And I'm like, no, Season 1 was the mask. Season 3, that's the real Grett, and she's so much stronger because of it. Obviously, she also had a design change. There was a lot of drama there. I don't really want to get into that. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that Season 3 is the more authentic Grett, where she does have to directly confront her demons, and she does a very good job at it. She comes at the end of the season a much stronger person because of it, rather than wearing masks and you know, acting like a teenager, I guess. I will put her in A tier. I'll probably put her above Miriam. I can't in good conscience put S tier, just because I think there were some decisions that are like, okay, this could have been a little better. But for the most part, yeah, I'll put her in A tier. All right, final four, the most controversial final four of all time. Are you guys ready? So Connor is interesting just because he's a character that, like, he kind of just got unceremoniously kicked out in season 2. He comes back and, like, did anyone see that coming? Did anyone think that Connor, of all people, would be one of the most important characters of the season? No. No one saw that coming, let alone fourth, like, they'll return and 4th place. It's like, it's crazy. And he quits again, this time as a move to get rid of Rhea. I don't know, I look at Connor's arc this season, and I just love it, where he starts out, he wants to just be with Rhea, realizes Rhea's not a good person, you know, and then he comes back in the game to fight. He wants to take her down. He He has that speech with the heroes, and yeah, it's a little corny, and a lot of people, well, a handful of people are like, why are they listening to Connor, but not Ashley? And firstly, Connor has 3 decades on them. It's a big advantage. 2, they think he's this rich CEO guy, and 3, he's a third party. He didn't really know, Ashley has the connections with Allie and Jake, and because of that, Aiden and Tom as well. Connor is just completely, like, no one has talked to him. None of these people really know him that well. It's like, he can serve as this leader of the heroes, the quote-unquote heroes. And it doesn't work at first because Tom gets eliminated. But after a lot of struggling, you know, it's this interesting battle, and I do think that he is the person that really tries to get Rhea to see the light, I guess. And it doesn't work, of course. It doesn't work. He tries so hard. It doesn't work in the end. And you might say, oh, he's just this white knight character. This white man. He's trying to tell this Indian woman what's best for him. So what? He's this rich CEO guy. It's like, his words are hollow. But here's the thing. In episode 14, and I love this scene. It's a very powerful scene that's also in one of the more controversial episodes. He has that speech with Jake about how he's a fraud. He's a Nepo baby. And firstly, before anyone's like, oh, he's a Nepo baby. Yeah, most of you viewers were born in America. To me, you're all Nepo babies. I live in a third world country. You're all Nepo babies to me. Doesn't matter. No, I'm sorry. But, I don't know. It's just, he really tries to get Rhea to see the light, and it just doesn't work. Rhea has chosen her path. And yeah, you could argue, Connor didn't need to go that far. Like, he could have been more empathetic. And I kind of like that both of them are just very flawed human beings. Yeah, the story paints Connor more in the right, especially with the ending, but I don't know. Rhea made her bed. She has to go lie in it. And it's just nice to know that, I don't know, this character just through thick and thin had faith in Rhea, and sadly it didn't work out. Rhea is a very tragic character who let her demons define her. I will put Connor in S tier. It is very controversial. Y'all are gonna fucking hate me. A lot of you are gonna dislike this video and comment Jpeg sucks, but man, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's so fascinating to me. These kinds of characters are so fascinating to me, and especially because this is the last character you would think would be important in the All-Star season. It's so great. It's so great. Gosh. Anyway, we are down to 3, the final 3. Oh boy, Allie? What do I do with Allie? Alright, final 3. Next up we have Allie, and I think Allie is just a very interesting meta-narrative going on that I think gets lost in translation if you don't know the lore, and I think that the existence of the DC2 remake will kind of hurt that lore. I think, and especially because Allie is also confirmed for DC5, so I really don't know what to expect. I'm kind of nervous for Allie going forward, because I really do think that Allie's arc here is so strong. She is probably my favorite character of the season. So hear me out. So Allie in the original DC2 is a very nothing burger kind of character. There is reason for that. I won't explain it. If you know, you know. She's just a character that is just kind of there to serve as Hunter's fan service girlfriend. And I like that the season goes out of its way to call her out and to say that she does not have fans because of this. A lot of people are confused. They were like, what? I love Allie in season 2. Well, a lot of the community at the time in 2022 did not like her. I feel like to any new viewers, it might come out of nowhere, especially with the and maybe I'm Kai, so maybe in the remake something will happen. But for the most part, her personality was something that a lot of people did not like because she was very just kind of there. So come All-Stars, and a big part of her early storyline is she wants to impress the fans. Hunter tries to keep her in check. But Allie is just like, no, we can't, we have to strategize this time. Last time we didn't, we got so much hate. And Hunter's like, no, who cares, dude, Allie, I don't care. I care about you. Stop worrying about things that don't matter.
And for a few episodes, Allie doesn't mind. Hunter's gone. She tries not to let it get to her. But then in episode 11, it comes back. As it turns out, she is not a beloved character. She is trying hard to get her fans, but like people are still kind of mixed on her. And it's like, what do these people want from me? So because of that, she kind of loses herself and starts to become kind of like a villain. Kind of like Rhea. Or I guess you will, but she kind of loses herself, treats Jake really badly, starts getting into fights, starts acting petty, and it's just like, it sucks. To see this very nice character turn into like kind of a monster because she's so jealous of everyone else having fans and she just doesn't have any. She just wants to earn some fans. And like a lot of times you just see this character struggle, and I love her interactions with Jake because the meta narrative is that and the story never outwardly says it, but there are a lot of hints that just show that Jake and Allie are kind of the same character if you really think about it. So them hating each other makes a lot of sense because they see each other's flaws in each other, right? Jake sees himself in Allie, and Allie sees herself in Jake, and it's so great, even down to the kind of emo-ish boyfriends, I guess. Their pettiness, their them being gullible, them being more susceptible to the villains, and even down to their dead grandparents, which one of my favorite scenes in episode 20. I don't know why people don't like that episode. Okay, maybe it's because of the elimination, but like it's just so powerful. The scene where that's the moment where Jake and Allie really bond was over their dead grandparents. And then on top of that, Allie is just supportive of Jake when Jake says something very dark. I love that. I love their friendship in the last 2 episodes, how it really turns around this rivalry that lasts the whole season that causes Connor's elimination, honestly. It's just, man, it's so powerful. It's so powerful that Allie really comes into her own. A lot of people are like, no, girl, you got this. You're stronger than you think. You're cooler than you think. Who cares about the fans? Who cares? Who cares about being liked? And in the end, of course, she has her moments in the gladiator arena, and she's just, I don't know, I love the character of Allie, because she's so irrelevant. She is like, it's so interesting that she was always fated to be like a finalist. Okay, maybe not in the first draft, but for the most part, she was always fated to be the finalist, and I just love that storyline. It parallels Rhea so well, and like it complement, like these 3 characters, Jake, Allie, Rhea, they complement each other so well, and I love it. This is the most genius narrative final 3, and it just makes me sad that people do not like these characters, but at the same time, that's kind of the point. It's kind of the point that the people don't like these characters. Like, from the perspective of, at the end of both season 1 and season 2, who are the most controversial characters? Probably Jake, Rhea, and Allie, and it's just so great. It's so great. And I'm just worried that the remake will really ruin some of those thematic elements of Allie's story. And just in the end, she has her friends Tess and Hunter and Jake, and it's great. I don't know, I'm excited to see Allie in Tom Jake season 2. I don't really care that much about the Tom Jake series, but man, to see Allie, Hunter, and Tess again with Jake, it's just, oh man, it's great stuff. Allie's probably my favorite character. Jake is a character that, if you ask me in the beta, he's probably the worst character by far. I think I've come to terms with him that he is frustrating as hell, but man, he is human. I have met so many people that act like him. I have probably acted like Jake here and there. He is gullible. He doesn't know when to leave things alone. He probes people, he rubs people the wrong way. He gets all petty and stuff, and I'm like, this is just human. So many people act like this, and I feel like he gets a lot of hate because a lot of people don't want to admit they are Jake. Deep down, they are Jake. And he grows from it, and I love it. Throughout the season, he just hurts so many people. James, Aiden, Allie, and little by little, he has to make amends, make bonds, accept the fact that he is a flawed human being, but he can still make do. Ashley and Connor both have to help him out. And, of course, there's the arc. I didn't even mention Tom yet, man. And there's that whole stuff with Tom. It's just, oh, man, I love Jake. I think Jake is such an interesting character because, especially when you see his roots in the beta, where he was just so unlikable, you turn that unlikability into his main character trait. He is a wishy-washy person. So to just see him like come so close to victory, like he loses in the end. He doesn't win the money, but in the end, he's a lot better for it. He started with Rhea. He was alone. Well, other than Miriam, he was mostly alone. He had no well, okay, to be fair, the family stuff, that's more like Tom Jake, the spinoff. It is hinted at here and there, of course. But just to see this character who felt like no one loved him, and in the end, he gains a lot of friends. Call it cheesy all you want. It's just powerful to me as someone who, I mentioned this with the Tess thing, as someone who's gone through those phases of life. It is just powerful to see a character like Jake. It's so weird for me to put him in S tier because he is someone that I did not like in the beta, and even in DC1, I was kind of indifferent to him. But here, I'm like, man, I'm gonna put him under Allie. I think Allie's a little better. But yeah, and here we have our winner, Rhea, and I think Rhea is just, I love how she serves as a commentary for just, obviously fame, right? The story that these people on your TV may be acting, and because of that, they put masks on, so no one knows the real them. They're so lost in their own personas that it's like, no, you can't do that. You can't just say it was all an act. That's the real you. And like, throughout the season, she really twists her morals to become a worse person. I know there's some things where it's like, I wish we saw more of Rhea's layers. We get that good scene in episode 17. Again, another controversial episode, but I love the scene with the cameras. It's so powerful. I like the scenes early on where she's confronting Connor. She's like, Connor, look, we can't be together. It's just, stuff like that is just so strong to me. And like, her inevitable fate, where she wins the million, but she's all by herself. Like, people are like, she's unsatisfying, horrible winner. And it's like, yeah, but I kind of like that. I kind of love that. It's a story where it's like, yeah, you won. So what? You got what you wanted. Now what? Be careful what you wish for. She sees everyone happy. It's like, yeah, she gains 3 million. It's like, yeah, whatever. She loses the love of 17 people that she doesn't really care about in the first place. But like, it's a moral loss. Like, she has to accept the fact that she will forever be known for this stuff. Yeah, she has acting gigs, but she didn't stay true to herself. Rewatch season 2. Look at how happy and gleeful and optimistic Rhea is, and look at what she turned into. It's a really tragic tale. It's a really sad story, in my opinion. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's just, gosh, I was acting Rosa. I love her. I feel like I had a lot less to say about Rhea than I did Allie and Jake, and it does kind of make sense because she is more the villain than these two. I will put her here. I will put her above Connor, but under Jake. I don't know. I was the only person who was against the Rhea wins ending, but now that it happened, I'm like, no, I take it back. I take it back. It's so good. It's so powerful. It's such a powerful message that she's the one that ends up burning all the bridges. No one likes her anymore. The person she hates the most in Duel is like, that's kind of what she became. And it's tragic, and it's just beautiful. But yeah, there we go. Here is my Disventure Camp All-Stars ranking. I did a lot of yapping, but I hope you enjoyed. I am Jpeg, the voice of Kai, proofreader for Seasons 1 and All-Stars, and I hope that you all stay civil in the comments. If you disagree, that's totally fine, but, let's have civil arguments, civil debates. Nothing controversial, and yeah, see you guys on the flip side. Bye-bye.